G'day. All right, it's time to talk about power. So, what you can see in front of me here is one of 3 mega prints of copper production in the world. I'm almost using all the copper in the world. So this produces 24,000 copper ingots per minute, and I have another 2 of them running. We'll go have a look at those in a sec. Every single machine, or pretty much every single machine that I have running in this world, is going to be triple sharded and running at 250%. The reason I'm doing that is to save on the object limit in the game. In massive builds in this game, there ends up being so many buildings and objects in the game that the game crashes. 256 of these refineries per mega print, and each one of these mega prints uses pretty much, 25,700, so almost 26,000 megawatts. So I have 3 of these. What we'll do is I'll just dip around to the other 2 of them before we talk too much about the power. All right, here's my other one in the desert. This is the first one I put down. When I printed it here, I probably regret putting it as high as what I did because I ended up having to pump the water up a bit, but it's not a huge deal. I decided to drop this one out in the water. It's the same again. It's just running into sinks at the moment. So those 3 alone, the copper is 78,000 megawatts of power used just to turn copper ore into ingots. This one uses only just shy of 10,000 megawatts. Let's just say, for argument's sake, for easy math, it uses 10,000 megawatts, or 10 times that is 100,000 megawatts. It'll be just shy of that. So you're looking at a lot of power. That's what I'm getting at here. So I've only plugged one of the iron ones in, but you would have seen there's a bunch of them floating around. I've located where I need them to be. There's one there, and there's 10 spread out throughout the world. As you know, I'm running 300 nuclear power plants, which gives me a nice amount of power. 750,000. Now, just a quick aside, I need my power to be a perfectly straight line up here. If your line of power is dipping up and down, that means something's wrong with your power system, and that's unacceptable. That's just me. Alright, so I'm already using roughly 2,700 or 270,000 megawatts, right? Out of the 750. And that's literally just the nuclear, because let's face it, when you set up a nuclear plant with all the processing and all the machines are triple sharded, it uses a lot of power. All that is a long-winded way of saying I'm gonna need more power. So I've been thinking about how I'm gonna do it, and I've been using the Satisfactory modeler, which is a fantastic program on Steam. So this Satisfactory modeler you can download for free if you haven't used it before. So I was thinking about doing more nuclear, and I laid out the framework for it basically over here. Here I'm making 20,000, making at least 20 plutonium fuel rods per minute. Even if I use just 5 of those to turn into nuclear plants, I'll run 50 nuclear plants and then process the waste into Fixonium and then into Fixonium fuel rods to run another 100 nuclear plants. I'll get 250,000 megawatts. However, as you can see just by a quick look through, the amount of resources that it uses, SAM ore here, aluminium, everything, and the amount of like convoluted things that I have to do to get there, it's almost like the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And that also, I've got these set up with summer sloops, using all the last remaining summer sloops that I'm using. I have 20 left because I'm doing, the playthrough needs to be done achievable in vanilla. So I would use my last of the summer sloops to get this done. Now, yeah, that'll get me a bit of power, but I'm going to be using a lot of resources, and then that'll cut into the amount of items I can actually make. So I compared that with rocket fuel, and to get 250,000 megawatts, which, by the way, the reason I want to do 250,000 megawatts is so I can finally have that juicy terawatt power. Just a nice number, 1 million megawatts, which is a terawatt, I believe. Also, you might notice that this is fluctuating, but that's the trains are braking, and it's only ever going upwards in power. I have a nice clean 750,000. Alright, so I haven't played with fuel generators since they buffed them. So fuel generators now give 250 power. They used to only give 150. So I really want to give them a go. Now I haven't used rocket fuel either, so I'll definitely give that a crack as well. So I've just got to build a modest amount of them, 1,000 of them, to get easy math, 250,000, and that'll get me a terawatt of power. This area here has nitrogen, sulfur, and oil, and it's also got water. It's pretty much this area of the map is like begging you to make a rocket fuel power plant. Anyway, so that's kind of my thought process of what I'm going to do next. Every now and then I'll hook up one of these iron blueprints, but if I was to go and do all 9 of these, one after the other, I'd probably want to kill myself by the end of it. Anyway, I've gone through the concept and thought process of what I'm planning, and I'll step by step show you how I go through that. Well, it doesn't look like I've done much, but I actually have. So, I've actually routed in the nitrogen for one. Now, I've also gone and got the sulfur. So there's a pure node and an impure node and a normal node. And then I had a pretty big brain moment. So I've always never liked using geothermal generators because of the fact that they just go up and down on the power. And I like my power grid to be one nice straight line like this. You can always tell if something's gone wrong with your power grid at a glance if the line bumps up and down. If you connect geothermal generators into your main grid, you will get a fluctuating amount of power between 200 and 600. I think it depends on the purity. And you'll get like this. And that to me is unacceptable. However, I found a workaround. So out here, I was about to bring power over to pick the miners up with power, and I thought, hey, there's some generators here, so why don't I just slap them on? And this is independent of the grid. So then I came down to do the oil. Now all I needed for the oil was one pure node and one impure node of oil. These need 134 each with 3 shards. It doesn't matter on the purity of the node. They use the same amount of power if you shard them up. So there was a geothermal here as well. Now, it's only 1. So the average between 200 and 600 is 400. And as you can see, it's the maximum amount of power I have with these 2 running is going to be on this little independent grid here is 316.6, and that's because I have a few pumps linked into the system as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pumps at 8 megawatts each. So as long as my max consumed doesn't go above 400, we're going to be fine. And the way I mitigate when it goes lower is all I did was throw a few batteries in the system. So pretty happy with that. Bit of a big brain moment for me. I don't have to worry about this anymore, so I'm kind of saving whatever. I know it's a small amount of power, but everything adds up. So 450 megawatts over there and 316 megawatts here. Now with the geysers, I'm probably going to try do similar things. So all over the map, I will try use the geysers now. All right. Now, it looks like here I've made a start on the rocket fuel factory. Now that's not entirely true because this is actually 100% finished. This is the factory producing all the fuel required to run 1,000 fuel generators. It's crazy. Like, look how small this footprint is. I keep rechecking the numbers to wonder if I've made a mistake. But this is literally it. I've got a set of refineries making heavy oil residue, a set of blenders making fuel, and then a set of blenders making the rocket fuel. And that is it. Alrighty, so I am going to lay out the 400 fuel generators. I've got them marked out as such. Each line that is 562.5 will run 53 each. Bearing in mind, yes, these are all running at 250%. So let's just quickly do one of these. So if I just plug this in, bang 3 shards in it, you'll see that they provide 625 megawatts for 3 shards. So I could lay out 1,000 of these just normally without shards, or 400 running at 250%. I'm doing them with shards to save on space and object limit. So I'm going to just send them out this way. What I actually did, I got a little bit carried away, but I stopped myself, was I built a blueprint like this, and I had these plans of being all fancy and like building them out like this and attaching them into the side of the wall like this, and just having them all at funny angles, like this, and linking them all up like that, and having all like 400 of them sticking outside of this wall. And I was going to go along, all along here, along like this whole area that never really gets used, and just have like overhanging power plants and have 400 of them, which, you know, it would have looked pretty cool, but man, it would have been such a like dick around to get it all like working. I actually stopped myself short of doing it and said, hey, let's not get silly where we don't need to get silly. I would have done them with curved pipes, but hey, I pulled myself up there because I want to keep it simple and I want to get shit done. The fact that it's just going to overhang this is going to be a bit of whatever for me. I don't care. We'll sort it out. See what happens. Okay, so I know I just said I wouldn't be too upset with it hanging over the edge. I'm just planning it out now. This is how far it's going to go over the edge. And obviously that deep as well. So I don't know if I am actually that happy. It's going to look a little bit ridiculous. So what I might do is, if I have like a structure like this, but I might have it like across this void here somehow. Across here, I'm thinking. It's about 132 tiles out to here, roughly. Oh, maybe more. It looks alright, so we'll slap that down now. Alrighty, more planning. I've laid out 53 fuel generators along here. I have marked out how deep it needs to be, and it just fits in here without getting into the clipping of this, which is perfect. Pretty lucky actually. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're going to be rows of 53. The front row is going to be 29. So I just have to delete a few on the edges here, either side, to even that up. So it's not even going to be, there's not even going to be a thing here. And bearing in mind there's going to be 400 here, and it still looks like a hell of a lot, but they're all running at 250%. So if I was to put these down, if I was to have 1,000 of these, it'd like the footprint would be 2.5 times as big. Okay, it's finally done. I had to troubleshoot the system for a while, fix a few little errors in it, let it all finally get all the rocket fuel all throughout all the lines. But now we're good. It's all done. Nice little factory here doing the rocket fuel. 8 lines of rocket fuel coming along here, nice and neatly. And a platform which I've suspended correctly now. And it's all running. So we'll have a look at the power grid in just a second. And what I've done is I've got this running just on its own separate grid at the moment. So 250,000 megawatts, perfectly straight line of power, nothing going wrong with the system. And this is my main grid here. So 750,000. Again, it keeps moving because the trains break on it, on the lines, but it never goes below. And I've got my breaker ready to rock and roll. So this will be in all the hours of Satisfactory, the most power I've ever made when I link these two systems together. 250,000 here, 750,000 here. So here we go. Boom, and there it is. That delicious terabyte. Terabyte? Terawatt. Terawatt of power. 1 million megawatts, whatever sounds better. But that's going to get me through, hopefully for the rest of this playthrough. But with how good rocket fuel was, I dare say that if I do need more power, it's going to probably be rocket fuel again. Because this was very, I mean, it took a while. But as far as simplicity goes, here's each one running at 250. I wouldn't lay 1,000 of them out. I wouldn't recommend it unless you want to have footprint 2.5 times as big as this. But yeah, look at the footprint of the factory. It's tiny. Granted, yeah, I'm using power shards in all the machines, and for the final production line, I'm using a few summer sloops. I'm actually down to 5 left. So I'm actually down to 5 summer sloops. I've pretty much used all my summer sloops on power production. So there we go. I think that's going to do for this video. I'm pretty excited because I've got a new computer now. So the next videos are going to be running on the new accelerated hardware, and hopefully I can make some high quality videos. So catch you later.